Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today's deck profile for you, we've got Justimon. Now this build is very different from what we had at the beginning of the week in our feature match. I had some major tweaks that I wanted to make to the deck that just made it feel a bit more powerful and a bit more consistent. It did have some breaking issues, so I wanted to try to alleviate that and some bit in here and there. You'll just have to see when we get to it. Don't forget, if you want any of our memory markers that we featured on the channel, check the Etsy link in the description below. There you can see all the previous memory markers that we've had on the channel, as well as some of our Battle Ready Inc. merch, like our sleeves, as well as our dice and mats. Alright, so I've got the whole deck pulled up for you right now. You'll notice that there are 52 of 50 cards. That's just because I've got two down here that I just wanted to kind of mention when we get to that section. I think there's some neat includes that you could possibly look at. But we're going to go ahead and do the card by card. Just kind of explain why we made some of the choices we did. Some of my choices are a bit different from what you've probably seen out there on the internet, just in other people's builds so far. But I think some of it is like just straightforward. It makes total sense why you would play some of it. So first of all, let's just hop in here and look at Hopmon. For our baby, your turn, while you have a black tamer in play, this Digimon gets 1000 DP. The DP gain is kind of super imperative for this. Justimon has a built-in 11,000. Now you can use one of his abilities to give him a 2000 buff to put him up to 13,000, or you could use that for other things. I prefer to use his ability for other things. So you want him to get up to 13,000 for your Sunarizamon here of giving him security attack +1. So getting to 13,000 DP at all possible without using his own ability is exactly what I'm hoping to do, just for the Sunarizamon. So we're going to go with Hopmon as our baby of choice, because that'll give us our first easy to obtain 1000 DP buff. So jumping into our rookies next, we've got Managermon. He's a fantastic card for the deck. On play, reveal top 4 cards of your deck. Add all black tamer cards among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Just a fantastic searcher to get into your Rios and your Kazoos. Rio is very important because he's your searcher for your Digimon. So your Managermon here is your tamer searcher, and then Rio is your Digimon searcher. Then I also included the Hagurumon here. So on play, you may trash one card with Machine or Cyborg in its traits in your hand to draw 2. I really like this because it's like an alternative to Managermon. It basically kind of doubles up on our on-play rookies that we have in the deck, just to help us dig. So I made sure to build the deck with that in mind, of being able to trash Cyborg and Machine types. So pretty much the whole deck just fits into that. So we can always have basically something to discard. Some stuff in here isn't, but it's so powerful that you just gotta include it. Speaking of, Sunarizamon is one of those cards. You're not gonna be able to discard this, but I mean, a rookie that gives security attack +1 as an inheritable is stupid good in this game. There's a reason this card always goes up in price. It is kind of falling at the moment, but anytime a black deck needs some like real punch power, Sunarizamon is like an instant go-to for a lot of decks. Also has the ability to give your Digimon piercing. While this one's on field, any of your 13,000 DP Digimon have piercing. So like that does come up. It's often forgotten about, but I think it's actually a very like prominent thing, especially in Justimon, because Justimon can easily get to that 13,000 threshold. So whether you've got Sunariza as an inheritable or just on field giving that piercing, fantastic card, a must have for this deck, I think. And then to round it off, I just had some extra spots in the deck, so I threw in 2 of these Commandermons. Now they are both, it is a Cyborg type, so you know it flows with the deck and what we're doing here. 0 Evo if we want to Evo and raising, or 2 play cost if you don't have either of these guys. You know, he is a solid 14th rookie in here, so 13 and 14 copies here. I have been playing a lot of decks at 12 rookies. That's been fine for the most part, but you know, if you do want to bump up your rookies, I think he's going to be a fantastic choice. I would say he is a definite flex spot in the deck. Next, we got Strikemon. So when digivolving, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 black tamer card among them to your hand. Place the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in order. This is okay. I mean, Managermon already searches out our Tamers, so getting another Tamer search, I got it. The deck is all about having tons of black Tamers on field, and the more black Tamers you have on field, the better. But like, come on. Monodramon adds all black Tamers. When you hard play Monodramon, he adds all black Tamers. I wish this card was like a middle ground, like add one Tamer or one Digimon, you know, so he's a bit more flexible. You could have you know, zeroed him in instead of any Tamer, just make it Rio specific and Dramon specific. You know, like, don't make him super generic. They could have, you know, made him a little bit more narrowed for the deck specifically, but at the same time broadened him and being able to pick either or. But unfortunately, that's not how he works. But then his inheritable is actually really, really good. When attacking once per turn, if you have 2 or more black Tamers in play, gain 1 memory. Awesome. Just gain 1 memory. Super easy. I dig it for sure. Next, I went with Sealsdramon. So this is the first of where my build differs from other people's. He is our blocker, our level 4 blocker for the deck. This one can't attack, but when you attack, you lose 2 memory. He's 6,000 DP. He is a cyborg type, which is like step 1, very important. The other part, the reason I chose Sealsdramon specifically is because he has Dramon. So he actually combos great with Rio. If you're not familiar with Rio, we're going to cover him. But when you on play, you can reveal 4 and then add 1 card with Dramon or Justimon in its name. So it combos better in this deck with Rio specifically than the alternative, which is Guardramon, which Guardramon is also very, very nice for this deck. He is a machine type, so he combos with the deck. He is a blocker, just like Sealsdramon, 2 Evo, 6,000 DP, exactly the same here. But he can't attack at all. So that is, I would rather have the option of being able to attack with, you know, the chance, you know, maybe needing to pay the memory. Okay, I'd at least like to have the choice in the matter, whereas Guardramon doesn't give you that choice at all. But he makes up for that with his really nice inheritable of when attacking, not once per turn, and we have a Digimon like Justimon that can attack multiple times in a turn. That's pretty powerful. So not once per turn. You may trash 1 card with Machine or Cyborg and it's straight in your hand to draw 2. He is a powerful consistency boosting card for this deck. The only issue though is he's a Dramon instead of a Dramon. So that O right there just kills it. If he had been a Dramon, absolutely we'd be playing him over the Sealsdramon, but I just like the consistency potential of Sealsdramon, of if I play a Rio and it's the only Dramon there, I at least get some sort of value off of the Rio, you know, get something for some sort of bang for my buck, and he can still attack. Okay, so like there's multiple things going on here. It is a hard debate, and you'll notice instead of like a normal, we could work in the Guardramon here in this next slot and then just tack the Grumblemon at the end. But this time around, I actually just want to include Grumblemon in our regular level 4 lineup. Usually he's just like hybrid for game, okay? And that's all he ever is. He's just an option card, basically, sitting in your hand until you're ready to win. And you've got tons of Tamers in this deck, so Grumblemon makes sense. But honestly, if I just bump him up to 3, he just kind of fits into that other level 4 slot pretty comfortably, honestly. You can just throw him in here. He's just a 2-cost stair step to get up into your level 5s, okay? And that's all he is here. I've seen some people running Tank Dramon, which also makes sense, but I like the versatility of, instead of just evoing on top of rookies, he can go either or, because we have a ton of Tamers in this deck. That yeah, Grumblemon just kind of makes a little bit more sense for me. I think it's this is right here is a huge difference between different people's builds. So this is just my take on it. Take it how you will. Next up, also for level 5s, this is also where some people's builds get a little bit different. I threw in Volcanomon here because he is a cyborg type, so he works with the deck, but also while your opponent has an unsuspended Digimon in play, this Digimon gains security attack +1. Like that's so easy to trigger all the time. Just having this trigger constantly is just so easy that Justimon swinging in with a Sunariza and a Volcanomon, that you're clearing 6 security in a single turn right there. Like, that feels pretty powerful to me. I really, really dig it. So, and even potentially an OTK, if you somehow manage to get it off, like, you could pull off an OTK with this deck. It's pretty awesome. And then next we've got the Cyberdramon, which just fits perfectly in this deck. When Digivolving, you may play one Rio from your hand without paying its memory cost. I love this. Same with Talmon. As we saw Talmon also, like the same synergy. Anytime you evo your level 5s and you get to play out a Tamer for free, that's huge value. That is always a powerful card, no matter what. I mean, Rise Greymon, that was super powerful for Rise Greymon. Always a good, like, level 5 choice for yellow. Same thing for Cyberdramon right here, being able to play out this Rio for free. And then your turn, while you have no Tamers in play, this Digimon can't attack players. Now, that is a big drawback, but he's a nice beefy 10,000. Most 10,000 DP level 5s are all vanillas, so for this guy not to be a vanilla and have, you know, that much DP is very good. Yes, his drawback is he can't attack without it, but he literally plays out your Tamer for free. So you should, in theory, have no issues with the Cyberdramon. So really, really cool, and it doesn't stop there. Inheritable of when attacking once per turn. If you have 2 or more Black Tamers in play, which again, in this deck, super easy, de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. That's pretty awesome. So you attack, de-Digivolve one instantly, and then we'll bleed right over into our Justimon here. He has an ability of when Digivolving, activate one of the effects below. This Digimon gets 2,000 DP for the turn. Unsuspend this Digimon, or delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 5 or less. So when attacking, also once per turn, for each Tamer you have in play, activate this Digimon's when Digivolving effect. And so that's what we're talking about. Like, the whole point of the deck is to get lots of Black Tamers in play, so by the time you attack with Justimon, you can just go crazy with all of his abilities here. So if, say, you want to unsuspend him and then you've got nothing to delete on your opponent's side of the field, you know, you can just give him an insane amount of DP, which is pretty awesome. Or if your opponent has a field full of stuff you can pop, you can just pop a whole bunch of things if you have a bunch of Tamers. So that's what I was saying earlier. I really like to get him to 13,000 DP without needing to use his gain DP ability, so that way I can use his other abilities instead. And that just kind of makes a lot more sense for me for the Justimon. So imagine using the when attacking, de-Digivolve one, and then pop something. So de-Digivolve like a level 5, and then pop the level 4 that was underneath it. Like, that's pretty good value there. Very synergistic with the Inheritables. I really, really like it. Fantastic card. Just, you know, swing with your level 5, Evo into Justimon, he unsuspends himself, swing again, unsuspend yourself again, you know, swing a third time with that same Digimon. Like, I mean, that's pretty powerful plays right there. I really, really like Justimon. He's very, very cool. And that's the main part of the deck. Now, another part that's a flex spot here that you can get a little bit wily and different depending on your build. I went with Metal Garurumon. So he is a cyborg type. So again, fits perfectly into our overall strategy here and really synergizes with the deck. 11,000 DP, which, you know, we can relatively get up to our 13,000 DP threshold for Sunarizamon with this Metal Garurumon. Pretty easily. He has Reboot, not too bad there. No blocker inheritables in this deck, so he does lose out on that synergy a little bit. You know, if you want to drop the Volcanomons for like, you know, 2 Volcanomons for something like a Megadramon, you can do that to give him blocker inheritable. But when Digivolving, Digiburst 2. So you don't have to get rid of everything. Keep the important stuff. You know, if you got the rookie and the level 5 that you really need, you know, Digiburst away the baby and the level 4. You know, whatever it is that you need to get rid of and keep the important stuff. So Digiburst 2, not too bad there. You still get it. You keep enough that you can keep the really, really important, valuable things. But then delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 6 or less. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Way back in BT5 when this card came out, this deck popped off like one time for like one big tournament. This took first place. Those that were playing back then, you know about this. It was like crazy, came out of nowhere. All these black cards just skyrocketed in price overnight, and everyone, like so many people were on this black deck, and then it just like never did anything again. But Metal Garurumon was like the big center point for this, because they were digibursting away, intentionally not having targets on field to delete, to clear their opponent's security. So then they could just swing without anything to worry about as much. So a really, really powerful effect there, especially if your opponent only has one security left. You Digiburst this away, Digiburst away your opponent's last security and swing. They have no security. Boom, you just won with something like that could attack twice. I don't know, like it's even better than attacking twice because you don't actually check that first security. Very powerful card. I think he's like a really cool, awesome, perfect include with this deck. He synergizes so well with a lot of what's going on. I'm totally down for it. Now we get into our Tamers here. I've got 3 Rio. There's argument for running 4, especially with Cyberdramon being able to play them out for free. There's definitely some argument for it. I think the real big flex spot is this black memory boost at the end. If you want to drop the black memory boost and bump up the Rio, go for it. Like totally fine, makes a lot of sense. I just like the flexibility of the black memory boost, being able to do really big turns like late game whenever I need like a whole bunch of memory. But so on play, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 card with Justimon or Justimon in its name to your hand, place the remaining cards in the bottom of your deck in any order, which we already went over earlier. The Justimon is very, very important here. So if you look at the deck of what we got going on here, we got our rookie, we got the Commandramon. So not only is he a cyborg type, but he also is a Dramon. We got Strike Dramon, we got Seals Dramon here, again, cyborg with Dramon in the name, Cyber Dramon, of course, and then we got our Justimons here. So we're hitting a lot of stuff with the Rio. Now, I do also want to just show you all the other choices that we could have gone with. So I've got all the black Digimon here because it's a black deck, makes sense. Cyborg type, you could change this out for machine types, but there's not as many. It's extremely limited. Cyborg is definitely the better of the choices. And then Dramon, everything that has Dramon in the name here. So like Dark Dramon could be your backup here. If you want to go a Commandramon themed deck, and with Justimon, it actually is totally playable in a possible build you could go with here. D Brigade Dramon deck, yeah, it's pretty wild. But then, you get down here towards the end. A lot of these cards are new cards that aren't out yet. But then you also have the Mega Dramon, which we talked about earlier, giving that blocker inheritable to something like your Metal Garurumon. These are all just some alternative choices you could go with. The EX2 stuff isn't too great because it only gives it to machines, and this deck is mainly cyborg type. While it does synergize somewhat with the deck, it's not quite enough. But there were other choices out there that you could choose to build with. This is just the build that I chose to go with instead. The only big difference right here is the Volcanomon. You could change it out for the other level 5 that has the Dramon and Cyborg instead. I just really like the Security Attack +1 in this Justimon deck that can punch for a whole bunch of damage really, really fast. And then here's the second effect here of your turn. When you attack with a black Digimon, you may suspend this Tamer to have that Digimon gain 1000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn. So keep that in mind, that they keep the Rio buff, okay? So you might lose some other buffs along the way, but you keep the Rio buff for a full round. So your opponent can't just swing over your Justimon or whatever. But you'll notice, like, his effect just applies to anything. You can use this on a rookie if you want. Like, I'm attacking this. The only thing I'm going to attack with this turn, sure, I'll go ahead and use Rio, bump it up by 1k. Well, why not? It doesn't hurt. So I think that's really cool that he's like nice and flexible like that. But that's about it. I do like that he gives a 1k buff, and then our baby gives a 1k buff. That's our way of getting our 2 solid, like relatively easy to obtain DP buffs. Like your baby, that's a given. We've only got the 4 of, so like that's a guarantee that you'll have the baby. And then the Rio giving your second DP buff. If you go Cyberdramon, you get that free Rio play. It doesn't cost you anything. It just synergizes and makes the whole deck pop off really easily. And then you can go into your Justimon and get to your 13,000 DP, with your Sunarizamon underneath, giving you your extra one check. So yeah, Rio's really awesome. Now, another one I really like. Some people aren't running this. Some people are. I think it really depends on your build. if you don't want to run this like really machine cyborg heavy build, you could swap out some of these cards like the Haguramon, the Kazoos, and you can go for that D Brigade Rush style deck. But in this build, I really like it because start of your main phase, so it's another one of these main phase, not start of turn, but start of main phase. This is after you hatch or you raise. If you have a Digimon with cyborg or machine and its traits in play, gain 1. We've already talked about all the cards in this deck that are cyborg or machine. It's a ton. So Kazoo, fantastic card for this. We don't have a memory fixer in this deck. But I think that's okay because we've got the Kazoos here, and that's going to help bump us up. And he's relatively cheap, only a 3 play cost. We can get him onto field pretty easily in general, I would say. So I definitely like the Kazoos. And then your turn, when one of your Digimon with cyborg or machine and its traits becomes suspended, doesn't have to attack, just becomes suspended. You may suspend this Tamer to draw 1, trash 1. This is all turns. So if you block with your Justimon here, and he becomes suspended on your opponent's turn, you can use your Kazoo when you block with Justimon. So I think that's a really nice synergistic card. Just like it all works so well together. Everything just like fits in so perfectly. So Kazoo's very important for getting your memory up, as well as a great consistency card, just helping you draw more deeper into your deck to get into your important pieces, whatever you're missing. So instead of a memory fixer, I opted for the Kazoo. Yeah, I think he works really solidly with the deck. Now, I do have 3 Iron Fisted Onslaughts. You could run 2, but I think in this format, 3 feels really good, particularly against D-Reaper. If your opponent sticks a Reaper against you, like, you're just kind of done, right? Your only hope is that they hit into an Iron Fisted Onslaught in security. Delete all your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. He has the highest play cost. He reduces his play cost. He replaces his play cost when he play him, okay, right? But once he's on the field, he's still technically a 20 play cost Digimon, so he's going to have the highest play cost on the field, and then swing in, hit that Iron Fisted Onslaught, and boom, nuke him. And then, like, once they commit to that play, and it doesn't win them the game immediately, they are kind of screwed because it trashes so much of the Mother D-Reapers inheritables that they basically have to start the game over from scratch and start restacking inheritables. There's just no way they're going to get into a second Reaper in a game. It just, like, I've never seen it happen. You should be able to win before then, but it also turns off their gatekeepers, and if they turn off their own gatekeepers and don't win, like, you capitalize on that immediately, okay? And so Iron Fist Onslaught, really powerful card. I think it's really good to have in decent quantities in this current format, so I went with the 3 of. I had the space in the deck, and then the last flex spot here was the Black Memory Boost. Just having that delay, gain 2, pretty good. Like I said, we don't have a memory fixer in the deck, so being able to, like, on those turns where I really need it, pop this, gain a little bit of extra, do a little bit of extra spiciness. You know, in the on play, you know, he's a good consistency card, very similar to Rio, but just a little bit more powerful than Rio. Rio is, you know, reveal 4, add 1 Dramon or Justimon, but Black Memory Boost is just anything black. So if you only hit 1 Digimon and it happens to be a Grumblemon, you can still add it to hand. So he's like just a better version of Rio. Now Rio, of course, you know, having Black Tamers in play is a little bit more important. So that's why I was saying it's really personal preference. On that Black Memory Boost, like, having lots of Tamers in play is important, but also having memory is important. Rio, once he hits the field, you know, he's good for that on play, but besides that, you know, giving your Justimon 1k buff, that's about all he's good for. You really only need 1 Rio in play. Once you get that 1 Rio in play, preferably probably off of a Cyberdramon Evo, you don't really need to play another Rio. Rio is really just good to bump up that Justimon to get him to that 13k. So besides that, I'd rather have like a Black Memory Boost in play alongside a Rio. So I think that's just a little bit of balancing there. But another choice, instead of Black Memory Boost entirely, you could look at the offensive plugin. Since this deck does run so many Tamers and you absolutely want to stick a Tamer on field, it makes this red plugin live, because if you have a Tamer in play, you can use this card without meeting its color requirements. And then one of your Digimon gets security attack +1 for 2 memory. Okay, so say you swing with the Justimon, gain a memory off of your Strike Dramon here, and that puts you in a good advantageous position to then use the plugin. Now you can use the plugin on Justimon and swing again. for just a ton of checks. Like I was saying, like you can OTK in this deck, kind of not too difficult, honestly, or at least you can clear your opponent's entire security super easily in a single turn. So I really like the power of the deck. Now again, remember there are other Dramons you can look at for the deck for level 5 spots. Just kind of keep in mind, like some of them don't synergize too well, like this EX1 here only works for machines, so this inheritable, it would be completely dead for your deck here. You know, something like, you know, this Megadramon also machine or dragonkin like doesn't work, but the Megadramon here though, just generic blocker, does actually work pretty well with the deck. And that is the total thing. If you play yours a little bit different and you've had great luck with it, definitely put in the comment section below, you know, how you play yours and, you know, what you think.